Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're looking at a story you probably think you already know. Scientists brought wolves back to Yellowstone, and then the rivers literally changed shape. It's a famous narrative, right? But when we actually dig into the data, the reality of this ecosystem restoration is way more intricate, and honestly, even more fascinating than the neat little fairy tale we've all heard.
We're starting off with a massive, mind-bending question that completely upended how scientists look at nature. Can a single animal reshape the physical geography of a river? I mean, it sounds impossible. How does a predator just running through the forest dictate the flow of water? Well, the answer lies in understanding the hidden threads that connect literally every living thing in an environment.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover the return of the wolves, unpack what a trophic cascade actually is, look at how those rivers changed, and then get into the 20-year study twist, the complex web of other factors, and finally, the real conservation lesson here.
All right, let's kick things off with part one, the return of the wolves. So, after being purposefully eradicated in the 1920s, mostly to protect livestock, wolves were completely gone from Yellowstone. For over 70 years, this massive ecosystem just functioned entirely without its top predator. But that all changed dramatically with a super ambitious reintroduction program. In 1995, 14 wolves were brought in, followed by 17 more in 1996.
And what's truly astonishing here is that number, 31. From just 31 original founders brought down from Canada, placed in acclimation pens and released, an entire landscape was set into motion. They didn't just return, they triggered an absolute ecological earthquake.
Which brings us to part two. What is a trophic cascade?
A trophic cascade is this incredibly powerful ecological chain reaction. It perfectly illustrates how top predators influence the entire environment beneath them. It's not just a simple matter of who eats whom. It's about how the mere presence of a predator at the very top of the food chain trickles all the way down to the plant life, the soil, and yeah, even the waterways.
And this cascade happens in a really distinct sequence. The wolves didn't just lower the elk numbers by hunting them. They created an ecology of fear. They forced the elk to stay on the move. Instead of just lazily grazing by the rivers all day long, the elk became vigilant. They started avoiding those exposed riverbanks. And that sudden behavioral shift relieved the massive browsing pressure on riparian plants, finally allowing native species like willows, aspens, and cottonwoods to shoot up and grow tall again.
Moving right along to part three, how wolves changed the rivers.
The historical contrast is absolutely stark. If we look back at the Lamar Valley in 1921 compared to 1988, without wolves, an unchecked overpopulation of elk had stripped the riverbanks completely bare. This caused the rivers to severely erode their banks, migrate unnaturally, and become much wider and shallower.
But today, the landscape looks drastically different in many of those areas. With the wolves keeping the elk vigilant and moving, those lush willows and vital vegetation successfully reclaimed the riverbanks. And here is the kicker. The root systems of these recovering plants stabilized the soil. That literally slowed down the erosion, narrowed the river channels, and physically changed the shape of the rivers themselves.
And it doesn't stop there. This plant recovery allowed ecosystem engineers, beavers, to return. Beavers rely on willows for food and for building their dams. As the willows bounced back, beaver colonies exploded from just 1 in 1995 to 19 by 2015. And those dams? They created new pools, wetlands, and rich habitats for fish, birds, and amphibians. It's a total transformation.
Okay, part 4, the 20-year study twist.
Now this is where we see a massive shift in our scientific understanding. The expectation was that this would be a quick fix, that simply adding wolves back would instantly rewind the clock and restore the park to its former glory. But the reality? The ecosystem had actually settled into an alternative, deeply resistant ecological state. You see, during those 70 years without wolves, the water table actually dropped because the beavers had left. So researchers found that just stopping the elk from eating the willows wasn't enough everywhere. Those plants also desperately needed the groundwater that the beaver dams used to provide.
As lead researcher Tom Hobbs points out, an ecosystem just doesn't snap back to its original condition after a century of missing parts. The wolves are absolutely vital, no doubt about it, and over the next 100 years they'll continue bringing massive benefits. But nature is highly resistant to quick fixes once a food web has been that deeply disturbed.
Which leads us perfectly into part 5, a complex web of factors.
Because according to the International Wolf Center, scientists are neutrally pointing out that there are other major factors at play here simultaneously. It's not happening in a vacuum. Since 1995, the growing season has actually increased by about 27 days due to changing weather patterns. There have been multi-year droughts impacting the plant life. Plus, wolves aren't the only ones impacting the elk.
We've got expanding bison herds, which have doubled in size and now directly compete with elk for resources. We also have an increased number of grizzly bears, which are major predators of elk calves. All of this proves the Yellowstone ecosystem is a deeply complex web where multiple predators and shifting environmental factors are all contributing to the landscape's recovery together.
And finally, Part 6, the real conservation lesson.
Biologist Daniel Staller really hits the nail on the head here. He says we should cherish our national parks because they provide a place where well-designed science can elevate our understanding of its complexity. They aren't just pretty places to go hiking, they are vast, living laboratories. They let us test ecological theories, monitor these trophic cascades in real time, and constantly learn just how beautifully tangled nature really is.
So I want to leave you with this to ponder. Knowing that ecosystems are this fragile, this complex, and incredibly hard to fix once they're broken, how should that change the way we approach conservation moving forward? The real lesson here isn't just about how to parachute top predators back in, it's that we absolutely shouldn't lose them in the first place. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.